Hello, and welcome back to the Our Favorite Bible Stories podcast. My name is Udochi, and I am your host. Welcome back, everyone, or welcome to this podcast if this is the first time that you're listening to this. I'm glad that you've tuned in. I'm glad that God put it on your heads, just click that button. I took a 2 month break that was not planned. The podcast I'm gonna record today, I actually plan to release it, I want to say in April or March, but I think an episode came out in March, so I think I plan to release this in April. Yeah, that did not happen as it is June. And that's all right, okay? Life happens, things occur. You don't always feel like it, but I'm gonna hop back on it. So there we go. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are with whatever you're doing. Yeah. Okay, well, we have a few things that we do on this podcast. One is Song of the Week, and I high key played myself because I don't have my phone with me right now, which questionable decision, as I normally have to access my Spotify to determine what my Song of the Week is. So that's a lie. I don't need to. I already know what it is. There was a song that happened, I want to say I was in fourth or third grade. Um, you can figure out the math yourself. But when I don't remember what specific year it was, but there's a song called Everybody Clap Your Hands. And it took over a certain group of people. If you were not part of that group, you've probably never heard of it. And I do feel bad for you because Everybody Clap Your Hands was that song. It was a jam. It was phenomenal. Whether I was in third or fourth grade, I was doing all of the tricks and the things, clapping. You have to watch it. You have to go watch the video to understand how iconic this song was. Um, but it's by a group called Joshua's Troop, and I'm pretty sure they were like a youth choir, like middle to high school level. And they were just putting out bangers. Bangers on bangers on bangers. And I know this because I recently found out they did. Wait, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I had a song from them called The Blood. It's either called The Blood, or just The Blood. It's so good. And I was like, who is this? I'm like, Joshua's Troop. Why does that sound so familiar? It's because they made everybody clap your hands. But at the time that they made everybody clap your hands, because The Blood is a newer song, at the time they made everybody clap your hands, they had like whole arsenal. Like, I think they put out an album. And the songs are phenomenal. They're phenomenal. So my song of the week is not Everybody Clap Your Hands. It is LOVE Love. And I think parentheses I'll follow. But y'all, I literally, to me, that song is like the same level of virtue in Out of Eden, which is saying something because those are my girls, okay? In Trinity, those are my girls. It's up there. It's so good. I had it on repeat literally for 2 days, again and again and again and again, and I regret nothing. It was so, so, so good. See, God knew I didn't need my phone because there is no question about it. That is my song of the week, maybe my song of the month. So good. It is phenomenal. Yeah. Okay. We also do Rosebud Thorn. If you don't know what it is, I was about to say go listen to the other podcast, which you should do if you have not. Even if you have, go listen to them again. But Rose, something good that happened. Bud is something I'm looking forward to, and Thorn is something not so great that happened. Um, I have a thorn, and my thorn is that I don't plan out my hairstyles, and that's a problem. I washed my hair recently, and I was just gonna put it in two braids and then do flexi rods on them. But for some reason, I was like, oh no, I know why. I didn't want to do flexi rods on wet hair. So I was like, okay, I'll just put my hair in a couple of braids. But as I was doing it, I was like, maybe this should be the style. These braids that I was putting in, that I initially put in just to let my hair dry. And so Excuse me. And so then I did like a mini style out of it, and like it only looks cute in a claw clip. And I'm like, well, why did I do this then? If I wanted to do a braid hairstyle, I should have planned this out. I should have done needle parting. I shouldn't have. I did like cornrows at the top. It's not really giving. I mean, I look good, but like I don't look as good as I could have. And so it's like, why'd you do that? Why why did you halfway through this process decide that this is just gonna be the hairstyle, I'm gonna go for it? And like even the braids at the top, like I did braids that like come down your face, so they don't go straight back, they're like horizontal, they go across my head, um like a middle part and then like braids on the side. And I was like, well, these aren't even the same size. Like your parting is inconsistent. Why did you make this decision? And I'm gonna leave it in for maybe another week or two because I don't really want to do it again. So, that could also be a rose because I don't have to do my hair. I got up for work and I didn't have to do anything. Didn't have to put in a puff. Didn't have to spray it. Just put a little oil and went on my way. I was like, yeah, this is why. This is why I did this. I'm not mad at my decision. Well, yes, I am because once I realized it was a hairstyle, I should have gotten my act together and I didn't. But I'm not mad at the fact that I don't have to do my hair. So, is that my rose? It may be. I'll think about it. Okay, let's go to bed. Something I'm looking forward to, nice weather. I'm like, excuse me, I thought it was June. Why is it dreary outside? What's up with that? Where's the sun? Where is the sun? I don't like that. So my bud is nice, nice, capital N, nice warm weather. I'm like, why am I wearing a sweater? Why do I have, well, I always use the covers, but like, why do I need the covers? Please. It's my fault. I haven't been praying for nice weather. It says the prayer of a righteous person availeth much, and hopefully I am. Hopefully I am a righteous person. So maybe I should start praying for some nice weather instead of complaining about it. Oh, catch it. Catch the word. Catch it. I'm in a really chaotic mood right now. I don't know what's going on. But that's my bad. I'm hoping for a nice warm weather. Anyway, let's pray and then get into the story. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for things you've done for us. We thank you for waking us up this morning and starting us on our way. Thank you for bringing us to the hour of this time. We're going to talk about one of the stories in your word. I ask that it will be edifying. You said that all parts of your word could be used for edification. This will be a good moment of encouragement, of teaching, a good lesson. That it will just go forth and go out in the way that you want it to, that it will not speak with the enticing words of man, but with the power and demonstration of the Spirit, that people's understanding and their faith will not rest in me, but they will rest in you and in you and your power, God. Hide me behind your cross. May I just be a vessel to and speak whatever it is you have for me. I thank you and I praise you. May you receive the praise, honor, and glory from all of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so today's story is Sampson. Samson's an interesting one. I mean, I would say like the average person probably knows, had long hair, and then fell in love with somebody who basically tricked him to cutting his hair. He had a lot of strength. You know what? This is a terrible synopsis, so I'm not even gonna give it. But we are gonna cover Sampson today. Sampson is an interesting man, in my opinion. And I honestly do think that his life is, I think his life is more of a cautionary tale than like like Deborah was like, you go girl, so was Gideon. Samson's more like, here's what not to do. So, but we're gonna give him grace. We're gonna talk about it. So, yeah. The story of Sampson takes place in the book of Judges from chapter 13 to chapter 16. Let me just make sure that's right. It is from chapter 13 to chapter 16. And so I've done at least, I want to say 2 to 3 stories about the book of Judges. Yeah, I did Deborah, I did Samuel, and I did Gideon. Yeah, so three stories. And high key, I feel like I should just finish out the book of Judges since I've done so much about it. But anyway, the book of Judges. So after, yeah, go listen to those podcasts if you want like a more in-depth a more in-depth version of what I'm going to say right now that explains Judges a little bit more. But basically, the Israelites were in Egypt. Moses helps bring them out, and so now and then they were like in the wilderness, and then they were supposed to like fight people. Basically, this is post Egypt. That's all you gotta know. This is post Egypt. Several hundred years post Egypt, but still post Egypt. And in this time, there were judges, which were basically people that were supposed to rule over the population. So if they had a problem, if they had an issue, they would go to the judge. But also, the judges were like military leaders. They would often avenge Israel in case there was like an enemy. They were strategists. They came up with military plans, and they were often like the stories that we hear in Judges, like God puts a prompting on their spirit, or God gives them supernatural abilities to handle military strategy. But you may be asking, why do they need military strategy? I thought you said this was post Egypt. For those who may not know, if we say post Egypt, it should be like, okay, they're living the good life, right? God delivered them from Egypt. They settled in the land flowing with milk and honey. Well, here's the problem. Despite the fact that God gave them everything that they needed, also let me not get too hot on them, because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But one thing about the Israelites is that they loved to sin. They loved to sin. And so what would happen is that they would sin, and God would punish them by allowing an enemy to take over them. And they'd be like, God, no, God, why? God, we didn't mean it. We're so sorry. And then God would send somebody to basically rescue them. And then they would sin again. And so it became a cycle. It became a cycle where they would sin, cry out to God, God would rescue them, they would sin again. But here's the thing, God would send these judges to rescue them. And when the judges were alive, they were good. The Israelites were like, yeah, we're on the Lord's side. We're good. We gonna follow this judge. The second the judge dies, they go right back to sinning. It's like if they didn't have like a leader there, they didn't know what to do. And so that's where we meet Sampson. So Sampson is one of the judges in that line. So we have like Deborah, we've got Gideon, Samuel's a little bit later. But Sampson is one of them. And so literally, Judges chapter 13, verse 1 says, again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Exactly what I said. They did wrong. God told them not to do wrong. They did wrong anyway. And so they got punished for it. And so, still, God, because he's merciful, he was planning to send a deliverer. And that deliverer came in the form of Samson. And so there was a man, his name was Manoah, and he had a wife who was childless, which is so interesting. We see a lot of people in the Bible, a lot of women in the Bible are barren. And then the child that they birth after their barrenness is a big deal, and was specially appointed by God to do big things. Think Samuel, think John the Baptist. There's a widow, well, not her child, but God often uses barrenness for his glory. And so, Manoah's wife, the angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife. And he said, verse 3, you are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son. Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean. You will become pregnant and have a son, whose head is never to be touched by a razor, because the boy is to be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from the womb. He will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. And so this is a big deal, right? This is the angel of the Lord coming and telling Manoah's wife, who had been barren, that she's going to have a child, and not just any type of child, a child that's going to be a deliverer. And so Manoah's wife goes to him, and she's like, you'll never believe it. I just saw somebody came to me. He looked like an angel. I couldn't even ask him what his name was, where he came from, because I was just so struck by him. And then he said that I'm going to become pregnant. I'm going to give birth to a son, and that in preparation for that, there are certain things I should abstain from. And then Manoah was like, well, he prayed to God, was like, well, can I see the angel too? He was like, let him come back so we can know how the boy is to be raised. And so God heard Manoah's prayer, and the angel of the Lord came back and once again appeared to Manoah's wife. I don't know where Manoah is when this stuff is happening. Like, the angel of the Lord is always getting the wife, but Manoah is nowhere to be found. But and she was even in the field, so where was Manoah? Anyway, when the angel of the Lord came, Manoah's wife ran to Manoah and was like, he's back, he's here. And then Manoah comes and he's like, are you the one that came to my wife before? The angel of the Lord was like, sure am. And then Manoah was like, okay, well, what are we supposed to do about this child that you said that you're going to give us? And then the angel of the Lord was like, your wife must do all that I have told her. Basically, angel of the Lord was like, what I told your wife is what's supposed to be done. Why are you asking more questions? We didn't say that, but like, it's kind of given that. It was like, what I said is what I said. I have a friend who hikey flames Manoah for this, because she's like, why do you have to ask again? The angel of the Lord, it's like, did he have to hear it for himself? The angel of the Lord told his wife, so what's he asking questions about? Hey, she may have a point. I don't know. And then, but back to the story. Manoah's like, stay for an offering. We're gonna offer up a young goat to you. And then the angel Lord is like, even if you keep me here, I'm not gonna eat your food, but you can use this as a sacrifice to the Lord. And so that happened. They prepare the animal. They put it on a rock to sacrifice it. And then a huge flame comes down from heaven, and it comes over the altar, and then it also takes up the angel of the Lord with it. So a flame comes down, consumes everything around it, and then, or a flame comes down into the altar, and then the angel of the Lord goes up with it. Basically, like, God accepted their offering. And after Manoah and his wife saw that, Manoah was like, okay, this really is the angel of the Lord. Like, this is really this is really something to talk about. This is really somebody. And then Manoah was like, oh no, we gonna die. Like, we gonna die now. We just saw God, so we're gonna die. And then his wife is like, why would the angel of the Lord come and tell us we're gonna have a kid if he just planned to kill us? Like, I love Manoah, but he wasn't there. His wife was high key the brains of this operation. She was like, can you think for a second? Can you calm down and think for a second? Does that make sense to you? Um, but yeah, so she ended up giving birth to a son, and she named him Sampson. And the Bible says that he grew, and the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him when he was in Mahana Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol. So that was like a brief synopsis of the beginning of this story. We're going to get into it because there are certain things that are stated in this section that are important for later. One of the biggest ones is the fact that Samson is a Nazarite. Well, what is a Nazarite, you may ask? Well, a Nazarite was like a special vow that people could take if they wanted to be closer to God, if they really want to experience his power, his presence. I think of it as like a more extreme version of fasting. Fasting, we abstain from something for a certain amount of time to kill our flesh and to then seek God. A Nazarite vow was like a more intense version of that. And so there were certain things that the Nazarite, that in taking the vow, you were basically promising to abstain from. And the three things are, let me go to my notes. Alcohol, you can't be, and all of these things are in Numbers 6. So the book of Numbers, chapter 6. It's when you can't have any alcohol. You're not supposed to be around grapes or drink anything from a grape. So no alcohol, no wine. You're not supposed to cut your hair. It's supposed to be very, very long. And you're not supposed to touch dead things. You're not supposed to go near dead bodies or anything like that. So those were the three things that like the Nazarites were basically not supposed to do. But what's interesting about this case is that in verse 5 it says, you will become pregnant and have a son whose head is never to be touched by a razor, because the boy is to be a Nazarite dedicated to God from the womb. Nazarite vows were, well, Nazarite vows initially were not meant to last a whole lifetime. Like you chose to take a Nazarite vow. You weren't a Nazarite from birth. So this shows how Samson was special. He was set apart because this is supposed to be a vow that he had for his whole entire life. Nazarite vows, once again, they lasted for a short amount of time. Well, they didn't last their whole life. Like, I don't know if there was like a average amount of months or years or days that people would take the vow, but like it wasn't supposed to last their whole life. And so once again, this shows that Samson was set apart, and that God had this really specific plan for him. I also think it's interesting that the angel of the Lord like kept appearing to Manoah's wife and not Manoah. And I think once again it's significant at this time because God consistently speaks to women and consistently gives words to women throughout the whole entire Bible. And so sometimes it can seem like the people that are used are only men. And it's like, no, God also used and spoke to women. Yeah, and so Manoah and his wife are they give birth to a son, they name him Samson. And so Samson, we now go to chapter 14. Samson goes down to this place that I assume the Philistines are in, and he sees a young Philistine woman there, and he's like, I've seen somebody I would like to marry. Go and get her for me that she may be my wife. He said this to his parents. I don't really know how marriage worked back in the day. What I do know is that Editor Udochi here. So at this time, the parents would facilitate the marriage. So they would often choose the bride or the groom, or the families would meet together to bring together the marriage of their children. And so there would be like a dowry and a bride price, but it wasn't like the love matches we see now, although sometimes it happened, as I'm going to say like right after this clip. But oftentimes it was the family that would facilitate it. And what we see a lot in like Genesis and stuff like that is that a man is like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, let me marry her. If there are any guys watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, that is terrible criteria for marriage. Please do not do that. Please do not say, oh my gosh, somebody's so pretty, let me marry them, because you'll see what happened to Samson because he did that. But anyway, so Samson was like, I saw somebody, I like her, I want to marry her. Go get her for me. And then his parents are like, why can't you marry somebody that's our type? That's our people. Why do you have to go to an uncircumcised Philistine? First of all, whoa. But also, think about it. God had told them not to marry outside of their group. Not to marry outside the Israelites for a very specific reason. He was like, if y'all get married to them, then your eyes are going to be turned towards their gods and you're going to abandon what I told you. And was God right? Yeah, he was. Because almost everybody who married somebody who was not an Israelite or who did not, rather, it wasn't even an Israelite thing. Almost everybody who married somebody who still had allegiance to their gods and their way of life or in their lifestyle drew away the person of God. And so for good reason, God was like, do not marry the Philistines, or not specifically marry the Philistines, but it's like, don't marry outside your clan. So his family saying like, are you sure that you really want to do this? He's like, yup. But it's because God was using him. In this case, God allowed him to do that because he wanted to punish the Philistines on behalf of the Israelites. In him marrying her, woohoo, did the Philistines get their comeuppance. Anyway, so Samson goes down back to Timnah, which is the place he first saw the women. He goes down with his parents, and as they were going through the vineyards of Timnah, a lion came out, and so the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. So he tore the lion apart with his bare hands as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his mother nor his father what he had done. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and he liked her. And so basically, he's with his parents, he's journeying, I guess, some way along the journey. He separates from them a little. He's near the vineyards, and a young lion comes out of nowhere. The Spirit of the Lord comes on him, and he tears the lion to shreds. as he tears the lion. So there's several things that are interesting about this. One, what is a lion doing in a vineyard? Where'd you come from? And then also, this is one of our first examples of Samson showing his strength. Like, this is, we had seen in the previous chapter that, like, God said he was going to deliver the Israelites, and it seems like this is the way he's going to deliver them, through Samson's supernatural strength. I think it's interesting that he didn't tell his parents that he had killed something. But also, they were near vineyards. I'm going to put a pin in that. We're going to revisit it. Anyway, he goes to the woman. He likes her. And so then he goes down to marry her. And so after he comes, so I guess he leaves, then like comes back for the celebration or something like that. He turns aside to look at the lion carcass. This is chapter 14, verse 8. He turned aside to look at the lion carcass, and in it he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them he had taken the honey from the lion carcass. Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that as well. Anyway, and so his parents go down, they see the women, and then Samson holds a huge feast to basically celebrate his marriage. And then he chose 30 men to be like, I guess, his like groomsmen. We're going to get to the second half of this, but let's go back to things we put a pin in. So, Samson, the young lion that attacked him when he was near a vineyard. Samson took honey from the lion carcass and gave it to his family. Samson held a feast, as was customary for young men. What do all these three things have in common? Well, let's think. What is Samson? Oh, right, he's a Nazarite. Well, what were the things that Nazarites weren't supposed to do? Oh, drink. They weren't supposed to drink alcohol. And they weren't supposed to touch dead things. So, isn't it interesting that in one of the first times that we actually see Samson in action, he is broken, or he is fraternizing with two of the things he's not supposed to do as a Nazarite. For example, if you are abstaining from alcohol, would you go to a bar? No. That's probably not a smart decision to do. Why? Because you could be tempted to engage in something that you're not supposed to be doing. So why even go near a vineyard? Hello? He held a feast where it is customary for them to drink at these feasts. If you're not supposed to be near alcohol, you're not supposed to consume alcohol, why would you even be there? And yes, you could say it was customary, tradition. He ain't had to do it. It never said it was a requirement. It just said it was customary. So once, just on that front, he's flirting with things he shouldn't be doing. But he actually broke one of the Nazarite vows. You know, there's an argument to be said that maybe he shouldn't have even been killing things. But, you know, the Spirit of the Lord came on him. So we gonna give that one a pass. But it did not say that the Spirit of the Lord came on him when he took the honey from the carcass of the lion. That's touching a dead thing. And ain't it interesting that he didn't tell his parents? Why didn't he tell his parents? Because maybe they would scold him for breaking his Nazarite vow. And why did he have the Nazarite vow? Because God had set him apart to deliver Israel from the hands of the Philistines. So part of that Nazarite vow was to help his own people. So it's really clear that he's a little lackadaisical in this vow. Like, he's not really going about it as he should be, as exemplified by his actions. But it gets worse. Anyway, he's at the feast and he's like, I'm going to tell you guys a riddle. And he's talking to the bride's family. He's like, I'm going to tell you guys a riddle. If you get the riddle, I'm going to give you 30 garments, linen garments, and 30 sets of clothes. If you don't get the riddle, you have to give it to me. You have to give those things to me. And like, this is not just like a basic suit. These are like expensive items. And so number one, if I was part of the bride's family, if I was like her aunt, I'd be like, no thank you. I don't know what the riddle's gonna be. I ain't got the money like that. So I'm not really interested in your little game. And I would have told the rest of y'all don't even turn, don't even listen. Because Heike Sampson was baiting them a little. Like, why would you even say that? Like, he was baiting them. But like, they shouldn't have responded. And you'll see why. So Sampson tells them the riddle. And they couldn't give an answer to the riddle. They didn't know the answer. They weren't there like that. They weren't giving intelligence like Sampson was. They didn't know the answer to the riddle. So what do? On the 4th day, Sampson gives them a week. He's like, all throughout the feast, if you guys can give me the answer, I'll give this to you. So on the 4th day, they got 3 days left. They ain't get the riddle. And so they go to his bride. Oh, his wife. They're already married. And this is verse 15, chapter 14, verse 15. Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? First of all, nobody told you to say yes to the riddle. Nobody told y'all to say yes. If you know that you don't get riddles like that, why would you say yes? And why would you risk all of that? Maybe like, okay, I'll give you a quarter. I'll give you some dust. Okay, yeah, let's do the riddle. But you knew what was at stake, and you said yes. The brain was not braining at that moment. But why do you kind of burn her? Like, that's so drastic. Like, what's wrong with you? But her response also was kind of crazy. Sampson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, "You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer." And Sampson's like, "I haven't even told my parents, so why should I explain it to you?" Crazy. She cried the whole 7 days of the feast. So the whole rest of the feast, she was bawling. She said, "Don't play me. How dare you not tell me what's going on?" And then finally, because he was so tired of hearing her cry, he told her the answer. And then she told her people, and then her people came to Sampson and told him the answer. So there's several things here. This is the layers to this, the layers. So first, the people. First of all, you guys are enemies of progress. Why would you even try to burn your own people? Like, why would you try to burn your family? Are y'all really family? Who does that? But Sampson's wife, her response was to, well, I don't say give into that fear, but she was obviously very scared by their threat. Maybe they have a habit of doing that. I don't know. But she was very scared of their threat. And so then appealed to Sampson and basically begged him to tell her the answer and would have no peace until he told her the answer. At first I was like, well, why wouldn't she just trust Sampson? Like, why wouldn't she just trust or tell him what's going on? But remember, there is no reaction, or there's nothing about how she feels about this marriage. It's that he likes her and he married her. We don't really get her emotions. We don't really get how she's feeling about this. Even when he goes down to talk to the woman, he talked to the woman and he liked her. We don't see anything about her emotions or her feelings towards him. And so I can't really blame Homegirl for being like, you know what? I don't really know. First of all, why are you even giving riddles to my family? Number one. Number two, like, I don't really know if you can help me out in this case. So yeah, maybe it's better for me to deal with this threat by myself. I get it. But also, Sampson's fake, because the Bible definitely says that a man should leave his family and cling to his wife. So why is he trying to act like he don't like this woman? He was like, I haven't even told my parents. Why should I tell you? First of all, according to this, you're supposed to leave your parents and cling to your wife. So your wife's supposed to occupy a more important place in your life. So why are you treating her like trash? Like, I don't blame her for not wanting to come to you. Like, look at your response. Was she playing him? 100%. But he didn't even give it a chance. Like, he wasn't kind to her in his response. He was like, I even told my parents, why should I tell you? Excuse me, that's your wife. You just married her. Your parents told you not to, and you chose to, so what you mean? Relax, Sampson. Relax. Take a deep breath. Relax. Because, anyway. So, like, we're seeing the tensions. We're seeing what's happening here. And so, after she tells the people that threatened to burn her and her father, after she tells them the answer, they go to Sampson and tell him the answer. And so Sampson says, he's so rude. He said, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. Sir, that's your wife. Sir, this is Wendy's. What do you mean? It's so disrespectful. He's so unbelievably disrespectful. But he was like, if you hadn't, but high key, he was like, if you hadn't tried to play my wife, this wouldn't have been a problem. And so, the Spirit of the Lord, verse 19, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. And so now we see supernatural strength Sampson coming out. He went and killed 30 random people that were Philistines, stripped them of their clothes, and gave it to the people. Because he was pissed. Because he was so angry that I don't know. I don't know if it's that he got played, the fact that they lied, the fact that they played somebody together. I don't know what he was mad at, but he was really upset. And so he killed 30 people. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home, and Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended him at the feast. The layers of this story, crazy. So first of all, Sampson was so mad that he left. He completely left the party, left the celebration, and went back to his father's house. I don't know why he wouldn't take his wife with him. Maybe he was mad at her. Yeah, he was mad at her. But like, why would she even stay there? You know, like, shouldn't she, like, when you get married, normally, like, in this time, the wife would leave her family, go stay with the husband's family. So, like, why would he leave his wife there? See, he ain't got no respect for her. Like, how could you just leave her there? Yeah, I mean, technically it's her place, but, like, you ain't concerned about your wife? Like, dang. And he should have been concerned because the father gave her to one of his best men, one of his groomsmen, a fake. What's wrong with you? How could you? Samson must see everybody. Everybody was playing Samson because how can you take your best friends or one of your friends' girlfriends and make not even his wife? Who are you? Like Samson had enemies all around. Like dang. My gosh. But yeah, that's how chapter 14 ends. Get to chapter 15. Oh, this was one of the first displays of Samson's strength to the people, to the Philistines, because they hadn't known. Like they didn't know that he had just like, torn a lion with his bare hands. Like they didn't know that. They didn't know he had supernatural strength like that. This was one of the first examples of that. And so, later on, Samson's so fake. It says later on at the time of wheat harvest. I don't know how long that's been, how long that is, like between, yeah, I don't know how long he stayed away. But like, you didn't check on your wife at all that whole entire period. What is wrong with you? Sir, be serious. But he takes a young goat and went to visit his wife. He said, I'm going to my wife's room, but her father would not let him in. Here's what the father said. I was so sure you hated her that I gave her to your companion. And then he says, isn't her young sister more attractive? Take her instead. Wow. Literally, in my Bible, all I have is crazy work. Because what do you mean? What do you mean you gave her away and now you're trying to pawn the younger sister off to this man? Are you crazy? Do you not care about your daughters? What is wrong with you? I just. Are you insane? The men in the Bible treated their daughters like cattle so often, and it's really upsetting. Because what do you mean? What do you mean? If anything, the father should have been like, you have an anger issue, so you ain't get my daughter. But he really was like, the younger sister's prettier? I can't even, I have no words for how crazy that is. My gosh. I thought I was so sure you hate her. Didn't even check, didn't even do. He don't care about his daughters. So Samson, in response to that, said, "This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines." So he knew he was just moving mad in the other time. He was like, "This time, oh, it's on sight." The NIV says, "I will really harm them," and he did. So he went and caught 300 foxes and tied them tail to tail in pairs. He then fastened a torch to every pair of tails. He lit the torch and let the foxes loose in the standing grain of the Philistines. He burned up the shocks and standing grain, together with the vineyards and olive groves. And so Samson, in his anger, once again, we're seeing he really do got an anger issue. In his anger, he catches 300 foxes. How? I do not know. I am not sure. Supernaturally, he catches 300 foxes, ties them together, and then lights their tail on fire. First of all, can we have this conversation? Does he like inflicting pain on others? Maybe. Because what are you doing? Like, he didn't just like beat up somebody, beat up the dad. Like he did mass damage. Once again, this was vengeance on the Philistines for oppressing the Israelites. But like, sir, what did the foxes do to you? That's crazy. Like, how do you even think of that? But he basically burns down everything. Because see, Samson's also he's like high key a drama queen. Like, I get it, but like, sir, he burned down everything. So after the Philistines are like, who did this? They were like, who just burned down all of our stuff? And so then whoever they was, guess with some snitches. They were like, it wasn't. Well, he wasn't really hiding it, now was he? He was like Samson, the Timnite son-in-law, because his wife was given to given to his companion. They really had all the tea. They were like, let me tell you, it was Samson, and here's what happened. They gave the Philistines all the tea. And so the Philistines, after they heard what happened, they went up and burned the woman and her father to death. The obsession with arson is ridiculous. First of all, should have left the wife alone. It wasn't her choice. Numero uno. But what is with y'all and burning things? Like, what is up? Why y'all always gotta put fire to something? And how does that fix anything? How does it fix something? And then, because they did that, Samson said, "Since you've acted like this, I swear that I won't stop until I get my revenge on you." He attacked them viciously and slaughtered many of them. Then he went down and stayed in a cave in the rock of Etam. Just the destruction that is present is ridiculous, man. He sets things on fire, then they set the people on fire, and then he goes and kills them because he's mad. It's just like, it's gory stuff. It's genuinely gory stuff. But Samson's anger is really being used to kick these Philistines across. Like, dang. He's eating them up. They haven't seen stuff like this before. They really, and it's one person doing all of this. My gosh. And so Samson then goes to stay in a cave. Why? I don't know, but he goes and stays in a cave. The Philistines went up and they camped against the people of Judah. Judah is one of the tribes, so it's one of the places in Israel, and they were like, the Judah, what are they, the Judites? What are they called? The people of Judah were like, why are y'all here? And the people were like, we have come to take Samson prisoner, because we're going to get revenge. How he 2x4'd us, we're going to 2x4 him. Then Ike, the people of Judah were crazy for this. They were like, the people of Judah, they went to the cave and were like, there's some people looking for you. And we know what's wrong with you. They were like, don't you realize that the Philistines are ruler over us? What are you doing? What have you done? He's like, explain yourself. And then Samson was like, I merely did to them what they did to me. And he didn't lie. I do fear it was an eye for an eye situation. And so then the people of Judah were like, well, we're going to give you over to Philistines. Because here's my thing. I'm like, I don't know, Judah. Once you heard that he did to them what they did to him, you should have asked more questions like, what did they do to you? And what did you do to them? Because if he was slaughtering people, it's like, maybe you're useful. You know? They didn't even get there. Editor Doji here. There's a section that was too long, so I'm just going to re-record it. But basically what I was saying was that the people of Judah fascinated me because they were ready to turn over their own to the Philistines and basically to the people that were oppressing them. And I think it's really sad to see that because they were so beaten down by the oppression that they, one, didn't understand or recognize the boon or the gift that Samson really was to them because he was able to defeat the Philistines, but also they thought their only choice was to hand over their own. So yeah, just tough stuff. So Samson's like, y'all can hand me over, but just make sure you don't, like, just promise you're not gonna kill me. And they're like, no, we're not gonna kill you. We're only gonna hand you over. And so they did that. They bound him up and led him to the Philistines. And so as he approached the Philistines, the army came against him. And so then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax, and the bindings dropped from his hands. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Then Samson said, with the donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. With the donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. Once again, still gory, but hey, those are bars. Those are some bars. And so, once again, the Spirit of the Lord, remember, the angel of the Lord told Manoah's wife, was like, this child is going to be used to get some vengeance on the Philistines. And that's what happened. He took a jawbone. This is supernatural stuff. Took a jawbone and killed them all. He 2x4'd a whole army by himself. Like, he's just been, like, they can't catch a break. The Philistines cannot catch a break from Samson. He is on their neck. He's on their neck. So after he was done with that, he was thirsty and cried out to the Lord. And he says, you have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? So then God opened up the hollow place in Lehi, and water came out of it. When Samson drank, his strength returned and he revived. So the spring was called En Hakor, and it's still there in Levi. And Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. I think this is interesting because it's like right after this display of supernatural strength, Samson had to cry out for a basic need, water, you know? And I think it's like a humbling moment where like, it's a recognition like, oh, I can't do it all. You know, I just killed some people with a donkey bone, but there are certain things that only God can provide. And I wish that he had sat with that moment a little bit more because I think it would have changed the way that things ended for Samson. But this is just like a powerful statement that no matter how strong, how big you get, like you're always going to need God. God will always be bigger than anything we could ever see, think, imagine, or things like that. So like you're always going to need God, you know? And then Samson led the Israelites. He was 2x4ing the Philistines for 20 years. And then later, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who was also a Philistine. And so this is probably the part of the story that most people know, Samson and Delilah. I do think it's crazy that like he just keeps falling for a Philistine. And it's like, did you not learn? Like, did you not learn the first time? Do you remember what happened the last time you fell in love with a Philistine? Remember, they burned her. She played you. Her people played you. You killed thousands of people. Like, what's wrong with you? Why? It's just, it genuinely feels like he's just given in to like any whim he has, and it's like, I need you to have some self discipline, sir. I really do, because like, what's wrong? What are you doing? But he basically falls in love with Delilah, and so the Philistines are like, we could do something with this. They go to Delilah. We're now on chapter 16, last chapter of the story of Samson. And the ruthless Philistine went to her and said, this is chapter 16, verse 5, see if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him, so we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. And so Delilah said, bet. Delilah said, deal. Deal, deal, deal. And so she basically goes to Samson. She's like, tell me the secret of your power. And then Samson, for like 4 times, tells her some bogus thing. He's like, oh, if anyone ties me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. And so she goes and tells the Philistines this. And then they would do it. They would tie him up with the bowstrings. And then she would say, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And then he would break out of whatever trap they set for him. After the first time, Delilah says to Samson, you have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come, now tell me how you can be tied. Okay. Hi, class. Let's take a poll. If someone did to you what Delilah did to Samson, what would you do? Would you A, tell the person to kick rocks? Would you B, ghost the person, never talk to them again? Would you C, tell the person that what they did was not kind, that they should change their behavior? Or D, would you continue to let the person take advantage of you? See, rational human beings would do A through C, but not our boy Samson. No, not him. Samson just heard the exact lie he told Delilah was then used against him. And she even admitted, saying, you have made a fool of me. Now come tell me the real secret. She is not even hiding her motive. She's not hiding her motive. And Samson, despite all of the great riddles, great poetry, great strength he has, his dumb self does not leave her. He's not like, you're an enemy of progress. You're trying to kill me. Let me skedaddle. He humors her. She's literally admitting. She is admitting to trying. She's basically admitting to trying to get his strength away. She's admitting to working with the Philistines, and his dumb self is like, just keeps lying to her. What is wrong with you? Like, what is genuinely wrong with you? Have you no sense of self-preservation? Not. It's because, you see, this is why there's a verse that says, don't awaken love before it's time. Because Samson had no business with Delilah. No business with her. And if he had been wise, and if he had been clear, and not been thinking with his eyes, or thinking she's beautiful, whatever it was that he was thinking, this wouldn't have been a problem. Because he was pulled aside by things that did not matter, he couldn't see or think or move clearly, because he had to have known, because he kept lying to her. He had to have not trusted Delilah. If he had trusted Delilah, he could have told her. But he didn't trust Delilah, because he didn't tell her initially. He didn't tell her after like 4 or 5 times. So why would you stay? Why would you stay? This is a word. Why stay when you know it's not serving you? When you know it's not beneficial to you? When you know it's actually actively harming you? Why stay? You can leave. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to put up with it. You can leave. And literally the exact same thing. Samson will tell a lie. Delilah would tell the Philistines. They would do that thing to trap him. It wouldn't work. And Delilah would be like, how could you lie to me? How could you don't really love me because you won't tell me the secret so I can destroy you? Like, my gosh. My gosh. My gosh. It's like, it's crazy. It's literally crazy. Editor Udochi here. I also think that Samson thought he could handle it. I think that Samson had been so used to his power and his strength getting him through. I genuinely also believe that he assumed he could handle Delilah's scheming. He was like, I already know she's scheming. It don't really matter. I got a handle on it, so I'm fine. And look what happened. Well, I'm going to get into it, but look what happened. That's another lesson where it's like, there's a verse that says, resist the enemy and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God and he will draw near to you. And basically, like, there's another verse that says, don't give the enemy a foothold. Don't think you're too smart to be outwitted by the enemy. Because that's how you fall. You're like, you know what? I know what's happening. Oh, I can control it. It's only one thing. It's only this. It's only that. And then you fall. And then you fall. And this, once again, this is not me being judgmental. Like, we have all been through experiences where we thought we had a handle on something and we just didn't. So take it as a warning. After the third time, chapter 16, verse 15 says, then she said to him, how can you say I love you when you won't confide in me? This is the third time you have made a fool of me. Oh my gosh. And haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I've been a Nazarite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. If we go back to chapter 14, we'll see that his first wife used the exact same strategy. She kept nagging him and crying and crying and crying, and finally he told her the answer. Same thing here. Delilah kept nagging him and nagging him and nagging him, so he gave her the answer. There's a verse that says the enemy, don't provide the enemy a stronghold, but he's waiting and seeking for somebody to devour. And even when he tempted Jesus, it said that he came again, that he waited again for like a different time. So the enemy is persistent. That's why we gotta be ready. We gotta be up on it, because the enemy will wait to take advantage of your weak moment. Thanks be to God who keeps us and strengthens us and restores us even after those moments. But like, you gotta be on your watch, because it was through perseverance, nagging, that Samson was eventually caught. You gotta be on your watch. And then Samson's like, no razor's ever touched my head. And then Delilah, when she saw, I guess she knew that he had told her the truth, she told the Philistines, and she lulled him to sleep, cut up his hair, and then the exact same thing happened. She said, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He awoke from his sleep and thought, I'll go out as before and shake myself free. But he did not know the Lord had left him. The Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding grain in the prison. Isn't that such a sad turn in this powerful man's story? Like, he had such potential, all to have it be stripped away because he fell in love with the wrong person. Actually, that's not true. And I think that's a story that we're given a lot. That's not true. Samson said, no razor has ever been used on my head, because I've been a Nazarite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. What Samson technically said here is not correct, because a Nazarite vow is not just not shaving your head. That's not the only thing. You're not supposed to drink, and you're not supposed to touch dead animals or touch dead things. You're not supposed to be near dead bodies. Cutting the hair is one of the things, but it's one of three. And if we look back, Samson had already gotten close to or broken his other two vows. He had touched dead things. He was not supposed to. Remember, he took the honey from that carcass? He wasn't supposed to do that. He was near vineyards, in feast. He was flirting with that Nazarite vow. He was flirting with breaking that Nazarite vow. And so, when he says that if the razor cuts off his hair, then that's what would do it. It's not just that. It's not just the hair. All of it is a symbol of sanctification. You're supposed to be set apart. That's why he had all of these different things supposed to do, because he's supposed to be set apart. He's not supposed to be like everybody else. And that was the last thing he hadn't done. Him telling her the secret was like the final straw. It was not the beginning. It wasn't just like God was like, oh, now you're done. And like, once again, I'm just, well, not even supposing, because the Nazarite vow is all of it. He was supposed to, even when Manoah's wife was pregnant with him, when Samson's mom was pregnant with him, she wasn't supposed to drink either. Like, it was serious. There were certain things he was not supposed to do. And Samson had taken advantage of God's grace. He took the honey from the carcass knowing he wasn't supposed to do that. He was around alcohol knowing that he wasn't supposed to drink. He had been defying God's edict to him. The hair was just the last straw. In my opinion, I think the hair was just the last straw. And it's crazy because he didn't even know that that the Lord had left him. He had been so used to just occupying this place. He'd been so spiritually detached that he didn't even know that the Lord had left him. He didn't feel it. He didn't recognize it. He didn't even know. And it seems like he believed that he was just working in his own power. Like, he forgot that it was God that had given him this gift. I mean, he spoke about it, but he wasn't moving like it. If he was moving like it, he wouldn't have married Delilah. He wouldn't have allowed her to make a mockery of the gift that God gave him. Like, he was flirting. He didn't hold it to the level of sacredness that he should have. And so, he got caught. The Lord left him, and he was left at the mercy of the Philistine. But verse 22 says, but the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. I was reading a commentary and they were like, the author was like, if I was a Philistine, I would watch to make sure his hair doesn't grow at all. That I would shave it daily. If I see any type of hair, it's going. And it's like, that's the thing. The Philistines, this is how you know that, like, there are so many things that happen in the Bible. It's like, this is how you know it's vengeance, because the enemy's not even smart. Editor Yudochi here. The enemy in this case is the Philistines. Just wanted to clarify that in case anybody was confused. You were just told that the hair was the reason. You see that in doing that you're successful. So it leads you to believe that his hair is the reason that he's confident, or the reason that he had that strength. So if you know his hair is the reason, why wouldn't you watch for that? It should have been a razor every single day. But did they think like that? No, they didn't. And so we get to the last part of this. The rulers of Philistines, they had a huge party to basically celebrate their own god and saying that their gods had delivered Samson into their hands. And so they brought him out to the party to basically perform for them so they could like laugh at him. And this is how you know how far Samson had fallen, or how far Samson had fallen. Because what verse is it? He had to be led out. And verse 26 said, Samson said to the servant who held his hand. They didn't even have a strong man guarding him. They just had a servant. My gosh. This is a strong man gone. And so Samson asked the servant to lean him against the pillar so he can feel the support of the temple. And so the servant allowed that. And in the temple was all of the rulers of the Philistines, all of the big people of the all of them. They were there. And so verse 28 says, Then Samson prayed to the Lord, Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just one more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Samson, it's like you had us in the first half. You're like, okay, he's there, he's sorry. He's like, I want vengeance because they plucked out my eyes. Like, sir, I get it, but sir, have you learned your lesson? Do you recognize why you're here? Do you understand your role in this? But God answered him. He found his way to the 2 central pillars, which this whole temple stood on, these 2 central pillars. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other, Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. So he killed everybody there, all the Philistines there. And the verse says, Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. God said he would be used for vengeance on the Philistines. It's honestly heartbreaking that this was the way it happened. Like, Samson could have been like a David, supernatural strength, a man after God's own heart. But he was too caught up in things that did not matter. That the biggest way he got, or that the Lord used him, was literally in his death. And so I think the story of Samson has a lot, even though it had a very tragic end, I think that there are a lot of lessons that can be gleaned from it. One of the biggest ones, and once again, I'm not saying this in like a judgmental way, but like, don't flirt with evil. Like, really don't. And it's something for all of us. We all have those things that we are tempted by, those things that we find hard to stay away from, those things that we know aren't super great, but we do it anyway, or we think about it anyway, or we go for it anyway. Samson shows what happens when that stuff happens. And I'm not saying like if you're struggling with something, God, he says he is near to the brokenhearted and bind their wounds. Like, there's nothing too hard for God. And like, if you are genuinely struggling with something, reach out to him, pray to him. It's like, God, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm struggling with this sin. Please deliver me. He will answer you, you know? But when you get used to sin, your heart no longer reacts to it in the same way. That's how people get lukewarm. That's how people backslide. Because they don't have the same spiritual awareness of their sin. And they get complacent in it. You don't want that to be you. And once again, God is more than capable of helping you through that. He's capable. Every single person has had something that they have dealt with, some temptation that they were trying to get rid of, something that they were struggling with. And God is more than capable of helping us with that. So, number one, don't flirt with evil. If you need help, ask God. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Also, a verse that says, God is faithful, he will not tempt you beyond what you can bear. Or editor Yudochi, girl, put the right scripture in there. Editor Yudochi here. So the scripture is from 1 Corinthians 10, chapter 13, and it reads as follows. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. But like, ask him for help. 2, everything is a gift from God. Don't start thinking that you're special or that you can get to where you are by yourself. God has endowed you with that gift. Give him credit for it. Even strong big man Samson needed to pray for that water he needed. Samson thought that he was big stuff, until the Spirit of the Lord left him, and then he was weak. Samson didn't recognize, he had forgotten who gave him that gift in the first place. Don't forget, because then you start making decisions that are unwise. Keep God at the center. He will lead you. Listen to wise counsel. His parents kept trying to warn him, and he didn't want to listen. I mean, God was using it, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't still being unwise in the decisions that he was making. Some of y'all are in love with the wrong people. Pray about it. Anybody that leads you away from God is not a person that you should be with. Use wisdom. The Bible says, lean not on your own understanding, and all other ways acknowledge him. He will direct your path. God has good and great gifts for us. They don't involve us giving up on him. You know? Anything that requires that, pray about it, because it may not be from God. Not everything that seems good is a good thing. Not everything that seems good is a God thing. And know that you're never too far gone. Even though Samson had clearly been skirting the rules for a long time, in his moment of desperation, God answered him. And God still used him. So you're never too far gone. You're never, ever, ever too far gone. And so, yeah, that's the story of Samson. It's a really sad one because, once again, he had so much potential. But, yeah, he didn't use it. Okay, well, if anything in this podcast touched you and you are not a Christian, I would implore you to get to know God, to get to know Jesus. The biggest reason that Samson was able to be saved in this moment was because God had mercy on him. You know, he did not give him what his sins deserved. If you were to ask anybody, should Samson have been saved? Should God have even listened to his prayer? The answer would probably be no. He had been skirting the rules for the longest time, but God is faithful and just, and he's kind. He's so much kinder than any of us. And he heard him. And so if you are interested in Christianity, if you want to know more, I would suggest reading through the Gospels. That's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Just to learn a little bit more about the character of Jesus. I think our society has said a lot of things about Christianity. But Jesus was very radical in a great way, because he didn't just say things, he embodied it and he exemplified it. His whole entire life and things he said and the ways that he acted was like a masterclass in kindness, compassion, justice, faithfulness, goodness. Like he was the perfect person who gave his life so that way we could be restored back onto him. Once again, we're all like Samson. We've all done things that should remove us permanently from God, remove us permanently from good things. But because of the grace and mercy, we're still here and we have the opportunity to live forever in heaven. So I would definitely suggest reading through those. And when you're ready, you can confess Jesus as your Lord and Savior and be welcomed into the body of Christ. We're really fun over here. I think it's in the last podcast too. We're really fun. Yeah, if you have backslidden, know that God is still here and he's still waiting for you with open arms. So once again, turn to him. He'll be there for you. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening. If you got to the end of this, thank you for listening. Yeah, maybe I'll just take the lessons from this and go in grace. All right, well, by God's grace, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, also, yeah, no. Bye.